12-time All-Star, 11-time All-NBA, 5-time League MVP, NBA Hall of Famer, basketball pioneer, and 11-time champion. That is one of the most unbelievable and legendary resumes of all time, even if it happened against plumbers. Bill Russell passed away at 88 years of age on Sunday, July 31st, 2022, and I would like to make a video talking about his career and the immense impact he had on the game of basketball as we know it. So, as you know, Bill Russell played in the NBA a long time ago, and I, as well as probably all of you watching this video, did not actually watch him live while he was playing, so a lot of what we know about this guy is from stories. But let's start with the cold, hard stats and accolades, because this guy has a lot of them. Let's start with the obvious accolade that we all know. Bill Russell was an 11-time NBA champion. Obviously, the fact that there were only 8 to 9 teams while he was playing helped, but there is no doubt that this guy was a winner. Also, these 11 championships came over the course of 13 years, including an 8-peat. No other team has ever even 4-peated. He was also the coach for 2 of these championships. Yes, Bill Russell was a player and a coach and won 2 championships doing it. Now, he doesn't have any finals MVPs, but the award didn't exist yet, and we can probably assume he would have most of, if not all of the 11, seeing as the award is literally named after him. He was also a 5-time MVP, trailing only Kareem Abdul-Jabbar for most MVP awards. Now let's look into stats. Bill Russell was never known for his offense, but still averaged 15 points per game for his career, capping out at about 19 in his peak year. His field goal percentage was pretty bad, but everyone at that time was bad, so let's use a stat called Field Goal Percentage Plus. It compares a player's field goal percentage to the league average, which is always 100. Bill Russell retired with a slightly above average Field Goal Percentage Plus of 105. He was a pretty bad free throw shooter, making his true shooting percentage plus 99, which is pretty much average, but it was his defense that made him great. He averaged 22.5 rebounds per game for his career. That's the second highest average for a career. Blocks were not an official stat back then, but many say he averaged 6 to 8 blocks per game. This would have put him first all time among players who have been tracked, and probably second to Wilt Chamberlain, but most of that comes from the fact that Wilt played a lot longer. One great defensive stat to look at is defensive win shares. Bill leads all NBA players all time in defensive win shares. This basically means that he is the most valuable defender of all time. He also has a very sizable lead with 133, while second place Tim Duncan has 106. This stat is also cumulative, meaning that the longer you play, the more you acquire. Bill Russell already has a sizable lead that would be even bigger if he had a longer career. This is showed by him having all of the 6 top defensive win share seasons in NBA history. Basically, by every measure that we have available, Bill Russell is the greatest defender of all time. So that's about it for stats, but what makes a legend is all the stories they provide. First, let's start with my favorite story of Russell. He, and I kid you not, invented jumping to block shots. Up until the 1950s, many believed defense should be played flat-footed to avoid being driven by or fouling. Bill began experimenting with jumping to contest shots, realizing it allowed him to block way more shots around the rim, as well as affecting the opponent's shots more, even when he couldn't actually get the block. Bill Russell also did lots to help integrate basketball, including being the first black head coach in major American pro sports history. It is also said that it was because of this prejudice he saw came his will to win. He knew that black players could often be cheated out of individual awards, so Russell decided to focus on the one thing prejudice couldn't affect, his team's success. For this, Bill was seen as the greatest basketball player of all time in 1980, keeping in mind this was when Magic and Bird were just coming into the league. He was also very fast and athletic for a big at the time, when most bigs at this time were just slow and tall. Another very athletic and great center at the time was Wilt Chamberlain, and the two shared a great rivalry. Who is greater? It seems to me like the opinion has changed over time. It sounds like before Larry and Magic had finished their careers, Bill was considered the GOAT. However, it now seems that many see Wilt as the greater player. Personally, I see Bill as the greater player. Many use the argument that Bill played against terrible competition and only 7 to 8 other teams throughout his career, but the competition for Wilt was the same. Whenever they played, Bill almost always came out on top, and that reflects as Wilt only has 1 championship, with Russell being the one who stopped him many years. A big part of greatness to me is the winning, and there is no doubt that Russell did that better. Wilt's stats are much better, but I feel like Russell's defense would translate across eras better than Wilt's stats. Now obviously neither of them are doing what they did back then in the modern NBA, but both of them could adjust their games to fit the modern era, but Bill was without a doubt more successful in their era. Many will knock their era saying they played against plumbers, and to be honest, it's true. The competition in the 50s and 60s was nothing compared to now for a variety of reasons. Many use this to knock Bill's greatness, and while I do believe it does affect it, I don't penalize players from his era nearly as bad as most. While they don't match up to the modern players skill-wise, they were still unbelievably successful with the cards they were dealt. To me, greatness in basketball will find a way to have success in any era. It might not be to the same degree, but you still have to acknowledge success. This debate between skill and greatness is a deep one that takes a lot of explaining, so next week I'll be dropping a video on the difference between skill and greatness. Anyways, Bill Russell will always be a basketball pioneer, all-time great, and an 11-time NBA champion. He changed the way basketball was played, and was an iconic face even long after his career was over. Personally, I'm very glad that Bill Russell changed basketball the way he did and had a long life. They say defense wins championships, and Bill Russell embodied that saying better than anyone ever. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. As a Celtics fan, this is a video that I'm truly passionate about. While I was never able to see Bill play, I heard tons of stories about him and hope this video is a good way to honor his life. Next week, I'll be dropping a video about the difference between greatness and skill, and Bill will be a primary feature in that video too. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching this video. Rest in peace, Bill Russell. Peace out.